Hello everybody and welcome back to another Q&A video, and today I'll be answering the burning questions that you have submitted to me. So our first one is from Combo Breaker 99. Do you think Rick and Michonne's story can really be wrapped up nicely in one season, or will they be back in another season or spin-off? Personally, I am really worried about the ones who lived. I do not think 6 episodes will be enough to tell what was originally going to be 3 movies of story. 6 episodes is probably going to be equivalent to maybe 2 movies at most, so they're really condensing a lot into that, and I definitely think it needs to be at least 2 seasons or a 10 episode miniseries, not 6. And will we ever see them back again? No, I definitely believe the ones who lived will be the last time we see Rick and Michonne ever. So I'm really worried because I do not think they're going to be able to properly set up a story and finish it off in those 6 episodes. We have Scott Gimple as the main writer, and he's the guy who thought it was a great idea to kill off Carl. So I'm very worried about the story of that show. I am very happy we will see Rick again, but I have this feeling that it's going to be rushed, and by the end of it I'm going to be more disappointed in the story that they could have told instead of content for what we had. My next questions are from Nip, and the first one is, do you think Rick and Negan will ever reunite? I really think it is a reunion that needs to happen because Rick needs to see what Negan has become. Where they're going with Dead City, maybe not, because Negan looks like he's going to revert back to Savior Negan, so maybe best not to have Rick meet Savior Negan. However, Rick needs to meet, if Negan becomes good again by the end of the show, Rick needs to have some sort of interaction with Negan. I really do want that to happen, but hope is not probability. I do not think Rick will ever reunite with Negan. It looks like, if anything, Rick will only reunite maybe 1 or 2 other characters. Negan is definitely not going to be at the top of AMC's we need to force these 2 characters in the scene together. So it would be an amazing reunion that needs to happen. However, I doubt they will ever do that. And your second question, should the Walking Dead franchise end? And my personal belief is, I do think the current iteration of the franchise should start coming to the close. We need to start saying goodbye to Daryl, Negan, Maggie, Rick and Michonne. I think after these 3 spin-offs, maybe do one big like Walking Dead 2.0 for one more season to have maybe a reunion or something like that. But after that, the franchise needs to reboot and give us new life. I want to see an actual origin to the Walker virus. I definitely do think the franchise in its current state should end, but the franchise as a whole, no. I definitely think they need to branch out and do new things with this franchise. It's my favourite franchise on TV or in general, so I don't want it to end. I just want them to do different things. Like, they are kind of pushing in with Tales, but maybe do more with that idea. This franchise really has a lot of room to grow, and with them just introducing variants, there's a lot of interesting ideas here. However, it's a lot of wasted potential when they're hooking on to what remains of The Walking Dead instead of moving on with the franchise. They're extending the death of the main show. So it's I want now to end, like the current Walking Dead shows, but I do not want the franchise to end. My next question from BoxZ1SR. What do you think the last piece of content this franchise produces should be? What I personally think it should be is a next generation. I think we should branch out, tell new stories, maybe do more of the at the start of the apocalypse, because I really like the start of the apocalypse, and it really annoys me that we have 7 spin-offs or 7 Walking Dead shows. Only 2 of them show us what happens at the start, and everything else has been like a decade in. Maybe show us a bit more of that first. But the last content they should ever produce is a next generation type of show where we pick up years after The Walking Dead is over, and maybe this is when we bring back some of the characters just for little cameo roles, and we follow a grown-up Judith, and we see what the world has become. It could be just a 1-season miniseries where there's a little outbreak or some sort of new flu, and walkers come back, but by the end of that show, people were able to deal with it. I definitely think that's what it should be. Not a full outbreak, but maybe some little epidemic with the walkers in a next generation type of show, just to see where the world has been that we left it. I would like to know what the world got built into, because we never got that ending with The Walking Dead. And I feel like this franchise should end with us properly seeing the world like rebuilt. We've seen the fall of society, but we've never seen the proper rebuilding of society to the point it was before. So I really want to see that. So a Next Generation type of show with a little epidemic, but the whole point of it would be to be like, everyone had a happy ending, society was rebuilt, and life went back to normal. It could even just be a one-off episode of like Dead in the Water or a movie. It doesn't really have to be a one-off season. I just think we need one more story after the end of The Walking Dead with a grown-up Judith as a Next Generation type of thing, just to see the world properly rebuilt. And I think that should be the last thing. My next question is from Dayum Daniel, or Damn Daniel is what I'm assuming it is. Which episode impacted you more? Season 9, episode 15, or Season 7, episode 1? I have to say Season 9, episode 15. The Fair is a masterpiece. Season 7, episode 1, going into that, you were expecting, okay, someone's gonna die. And it was just meh. It was a good episode, but the actual effects of it were a bit muted because you were preparing for months and months and months. You've been preparing since the end of Season 6 for this. But with the calm before, it is just intense the entire episode, and there's more build up to the deaths. And I personally really liked Henry. I know he's a very unpopular character, but for some reason I liked him. I always hated Carl. I always thought Carl was annoying, and I liked Henry for some reason. And the deaths, even though they're small characters, the effects of the deaths on our popular characters like Carol is just so much more impactful. And that music when they're going up to the pikes, it is just a masterclass. So I have to say episode 15 of season 9 impacted me so much more than episode 1 of season 7. My next two questions are both from What Do You Mean You Don't? The first one is, when you start watching The Walking Dead, what season was currently airing? For me, I watched a bit of season 1. I remember seeing parts of episode 4, 5 and 6, but then properly started watching The Walking Dead from start to finish religiously from season 2 onwards. And during the airing of season 2, I went back and watched season 1 because I missed the first 3 episodes when I was watching parts of it. I wasn't really into it. I was aware of the show, but season 2 is what really hooked me. I'd definitely say when I started watching The Walking Dead would have to be from start to finish season 2. Second question is, what season/episode do you believe The Walking Dead should have ended on? I have two for this. One is in season 5, episode 11, and it's when Rick and everyone get to Alexandria and you have a close-up on Rick's face and you hear children laughing. Something simple like that. The second one, which is originally the ending for The Walking Dead comics, was straight after No Way Out. Have them end with like a short season 6 and then have them do No Way Out. They get rid of the walkers. You have Rick's little speech with Carl. Maybe you have a bit more with them having Carl wake up and rebuilding, but end halfway through season 6. End with the No Way Out arc. Don't do the saviors. Just end after the end and defeat of the walkers. My next question is from Marvel DC Extinction Wrestler 7773. What if the Walking Dead world from the comics was to merge with the DC and Marvel universes? How do you think the heroes and villains would interact with each other? Well, first of all, I definitely think all the heroes of those universes would look at our heroes of the Walking Dead as villains, because we've seen in both Marvel and DC universes how they would react to zombies, because there are zombie comics for those universes, and they still keep to their morals mostly. So all the heroes and even some of the villains of these universes would definitely look at even the good guys like Rick as villains, because Rick has done some morally grey / downright evil things in the Walking Dead universe. Look at the point where he talks Negan down from a battle and then goes to try and kill him when Negan's like, yeah, we can all live happy. Rick is straight up not a hero. All the characters in The Walking Dead would be seen as villains, and they would even scare some of the villains. Like, they would all easily die, definitely, if any of the heroes or villains of either of those universes attacked our Walking Dead characters. They would be like splattered. They are normal humans. They're not action heroes. So it'll be a lot of fear, and that's how I think they would interact, and it'll be a lot of fear and disgust. My last two questions from Cash the Real Saint. Do you think if Glenn would have survived, would he be the main character after Rick left? And do you think Maggie would have died on the packs or something? Yes, I agree. Glenn would definitely have been the main character, or at least co-lead with Daryl after Rick left. I do not think Maggie would be on the pikes. I definitely think Maggie wouldn't really do much. She would just end up really being a side character, and a character development would stop. She'd just be a mum for Herschel. But Glenn definitely would become the lead slash co-lead, at least, with Daryl, and he would be the main focus. We definitely would be a very different Walking Dead in the final 3 seasons, because you wouldn't have the issue with the communities breaking apart. Glenn is a very hopeful character, and he definitely would have stepped up to become that Rick type of role and kept the community together and built this strong world. We definitely wouldn't have had the Fools of the Kingdom because of Glenn would have made sure that they kept the supplies, and maybe because of Glenn he would have made sure the sanctuary just didn't get abandoned and somebody would always be living there. Glenn's a very hopeful character, and he definitely would have put a lot more hope in our characters just before the Whisperers and kept them hopeful during the Whisperer War. And my last question, name 5 overrated characters and name 5 underrated characters. My big 5 for overrated have to be Daryl, Carol, Negan, Maggie and Rosita. They are good characters, however some people really overrate them, like they're the best of the best. They are good, it's just I feel they do have flaws, and at times each of these characters have been insufferable. Or at least 4 of them have. Rosita I've always been very indifferent on. And I see a lot of people really praising Rosita. And I'm like, well, she's just a character. She's been around for a long time, but she isn't anything special. She's on the same level as Sasha, I would say. So Rosita is definitely the most overrated for me. But the other 4, they annoy me at times, which stops them from being the GOAT like some people think they are. And I also think their popularity has kept them going on for too long when their stories are easily done. Especially for the main 4, Daryl, Carol, Negan and Maggie. Those characters' stories should be done. Daryl and Carol should have died in about season 6, season 7. Their story arcs were done for me, and I think after that they just were like running on borrowed time that just never seemed to end. Negan and Maggie, they had the perfect ending, but because of their popularity, they are being dragged on to have their own spin-off, which then ruins their perfect ending. It's just the overrating of some of these characters keep them around for way too long, and it lessens the impact of the stories that they had. And my 5 underrated have to be Yumiko, Henry, Eugene, Tyrese and Dwight. All those characters really get overlooked when talking about entertaining or good characters, and they're always like, oh, this big character, but then you have all these small characters doing these very interesting things. Like Yumiko, especially in the last 2 seasons, she really carried parts of the Commonwealth arc. She was a very entertaining character. And when you look at the Magna Group, everyone always focuses on Connie because of her relationship with Daryl and because of her connection to Daryl. Everyone overlooks Yumiko. So, and you have a bit with Luke where people look at Luke and they overlook Yumiko. Yumiko is a very interesting character, and especially Dwight gets overlooked because of the Daryl connection. I feel those characters definitely need a little more love. And that is my Q&A. So put down in the comments any more questions you would like to be answered in the next Q&A. But this is it today. So goodbye, peace out, and make sure to like and subscribe to get updated with all things Walking Dead universe. See you in my next video.